welcome to another episode of the Out of Office Club. Thank you again for joining me. Today is actually a very nice day. It has been not great weather the past week. I am currently still in Italy, no longer in Rome. I'm in the south. I'm in Matera. If you've checked my social media, you might have seen that. I had no idea what to expect of Matera. I feel like I'm one of the only ones that had not heard of Matera, because I posted it on social media and lots of people were like, oh yeah, I know where that is, and they knew things about it and I hadn't even heard of it. So maybe I'm just very ignorant when it comes to world history, I think, because there's a lot of history here. This is one of the oldest cities, if not the oldest city in the world. Or maybe I just don't know enough about Italy. Anyway, I'm here now. It is absolutely beautiful. The weather wasn't great last days, but today is sunny again, which is really nice. I've got a great view, by the way. That's why I'm kind of, if you're looking this on YouTube, that's why I'm looking that way. The view's great, but I'll focus. So weekend was nice. Back to working a lot. Rome was amazing. I loved it so much. I did work still quite a lot, but of course I tried as much as I can to go out and explore and walk around. I did all the standard tourist things, went for dinner, saw, of course, the main streets. I had so much good food. It is crazy. It was very busy, even though it's no longer main season, I think. It's like end October, but it was still quite busy. But I really loved it. And so far Matera is also really nice. It's nice to be in a smaller town again. But that is enough of a personal update. What I wanted to talk about today is a topic I think I've spoken about before, just in kind of different podcast episodes, not all at once. I've also talked about it on my social media, I know, but I wanted to dedicate one podcast episode just about this because I think it's important. It is good for people to know who are thinking about this lifestyle, about becoming a digital nomad, or even just traveling long term, whether that is a couple months or years. Or I think it's good to know what this lifestyle kind of forces you to give up on. And not all of that is bad at all. Like, I don't mind it as much, but it is things that I think are good to be aware of. Just know that these are some things that you're going to give up on if you choose this lifestyle. And of course, this is my personal experience. Again, this is because I've crafted this life in such a way. And it'll be different for everyone. Some people might agree with some of these points. Some might not. There might be some that I'm forgetting. But what I want to talk about today is what I had to give up to travel more. Because as you know, if you've listened to any other episodes or seen my social media, I started traveling 10 years ago. And back then I did it just a couple months, go back home, work, and then travel again. I've also studied abroad. I've done more and more long trips over the years and incorporated work more and more into it. So of course, for my first trips, I was just backpacking. I wasn't working. I was just enjoying my time, seeing as much as I could, traveling very fast. And now I do it very different. I work while I travel, hence the digital nomad lifestyle. And it looks a bit different. And because I'm also doing this full time, I can now say what it is like to do this and what you give up on, basically. Especially when I go back home. I've got some really good friends that I've known since high school. Their life is very different than mine. They're talking about things that at the moment are not important to me, or for me. Like I love that they're doing it and their life and they're very happy, but they're not relevant to me because I haven't thought about those things, or I don't get to, or they're things that I sometimes miss out on because of this lifestyle. So yeah, I mean, as you can imagine, every lifestyle has a price. It's got pros and cons. And in order to travel a lot, there are certain things I just had to give up on. And again, I don't mind, but it's the truth. So right now, I think the main thing that you stop and that you give up on, and that you also, I mean, it doesn't bother me as much anymore, and it depends very much on what country you go to and of course your budget, but you give up a lot on a sense of comfort and stability. So every time I move, I start again. I have to again find out where's the best spot to do my groceries, to get my coffee, to go to the gym. I never really get super well acquainted with everything around me. Plus, usually by the time I do and I really know where I am and what it's like, I leave, which is my own choice, but that's kind of what happens. Which means that you also give up a lot of comfort. I, of course, hear friends talk about the perfect mattress and really making their space their own and having all these different types of comfort that come with that. And I just don't have that. Whenever I go to a new apartment or stay in an Airbnb or hotel, I get whatever they have. So if the bed is uncomfortable, the bed will be uncomfortable for the next month. There's not much I can do about that. If they don't have a coffee machine, I can't make any coffee. If they, that's the sense of comfort and that I then give up on. I live however the Airbnb or apartment looks like, and they are not always as comfortable. Some are very noisy, some are very small, some just don't have certain luxuries that you would have, like very nice bed linen, or it's really small things that can make a big difference to someone. I know people that are very particular with what kind of bedding they choose, and I can't be. And whenever I go shopping and I see all these little cute things for in the house, I'm like, oh well, if I had a house, that's what I'd buy, but I can't. It's just not not something sorry, it's not something I can't buy. That doesn't make sense. On the other hand, it's something I don't have to worry about, which is also quite nice. Sorry, I don't know what that is. But yeah, that's a sense of comfort that I don't get. Of course, I mean, anyone who's ever stayed in an Airbnb, finding like a sharp knife is already a luxury at this point. Finding a mattress that is half decent is a luxury. That's the kind of comfort I now kind of strive for. Of course, it depends what you book, and I really try and do my research, but you just never know. Which also means that some places I sleep well, some places I don't. And then, of course, the stability. Like I said, every time you start again, you don't have a lot of stability. My routine is different. Every city, every country, every month it changes, which I also quite enjoy. That's not what I'm saying. I think that's half the reason I like to travel, is because I get to change often. But yeah, that's what you do give up on. A sense of comfort and stability. Something I really had to get used to is not having a home. Like, I don't have an official home. Whenever someone asks me where I live, I don't exactly have a clear answer. It's just, usually I say, I travel full time. I am from the Netherlands, but I travel full time, so I don't live there. Often, of course, people don't expect that and just assume that I live in the Netherlands, which is fine too. But I don't. So I do remember a couple years ago that I did struggle with that for a bit. I was like, oh, I don't have anything to call home. But I've changed that mindset around. It's not about the place that I call home. It's just wherever I go, I make it my home. And I live out of my suitcase. Whatever I've got in my suitcase, that is my home. Actually, last week I saw some guy on Instagram who lives out of just a backpack, like super small little backpack, which I thought was really interesting. I don't think I could do that, but I quite like the way he talked about it. He just said, oh, this is what I have. This is all I need. And if I want to leave tomorrow, I pack my tiny little suitcase or a backpack and I can just get up and leave. And I actually also really quite like that. I, of course, do that with a bigger suitcase, but the idea is the same. If I don't like it somewhere, if I want to leave, it takes me 10 minutes to pack my suitcase. I've gotten very good at packing my suitcase very quickly. Not well, but it closes. It's under 23 kilos and I can just go, which I personally love. But yeah, I don't have a home. Everything else that I own is at my dad's place, at his garage. So there's no home for me. There's not really a place to go home to. My dad has also moved since I lived in the Netherlands, so I also don't have my own bedroom anymore that I grew up in. That's like they moved houses, so there's not really any place for me, which again I found tough a couple years ago, but right now I don't mind anymore. There's nothing. It's also quite freeing to not have that place where you feel like you have to go back to, or that's kind of keeping you tied to a certain place. I just don't have that. And as long as I think about it like this, like I am my own home in the end, I can go wherever I want. I can make it my own experience. I can make it great. I can design it in every single city and country I go to. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and that's fine. But that is maybe a different mindset that you don't need to have, that you don't have a home and that you're okay with that. Because I also know people that would find that very, very difficult. I personally, of course, I find it freeing. But that took me a bit to get there. So if you find that tough at the beginning, I wouldn't worry about that too much. It is very different than I think the mindset of a lot of people, and also what we kind of grow up on, like you've got your home. That's the most important thing. And I think with this lifestyle, you kind of redefine what home means to you. That, I think, is what I want to talk about in terms of comfort and stability. The next one, of course, I already talked about this before, but is relationships and a sense of belonging as well. I think that comes a bit with the part about home. But yeah, relationships are tough to maintain when you travel a lot or full time. Of course, now because I've been doing this for 2 years, I've met more and more digital nomads, or people that at least travel a lot, that work online. So occasionally I'll meet with them somewhere, which is really nice. But all my friends back home, I only see them once or twice a year. Same with family. I miss out on a lot of events, and that can cause some friction as well. And those, of course, just friendships. Then there's, of course, like romantic relationships. Those are tough. I was thinking about that this morning when I was thinking about how to do this podcast. And I don't know if that's a thing in other countries. I suppose it is. But in the Netherlands, we often say that, it's a really good test of friendship when you travel together. And the same for a relationship. It's just really good to try that out, because traveling is stressful and a lot of things happen and you need to make many decisions. There's a lot of impressions. So it's a really good test of a relationship to travel together, whether that is friendships or a romantic partner, doesn't matter. But yeah, traveling with a partner is not always fun, especially not when you have different travel styles. Like one of my exes was very organized, very focused on seeing everything, loved getting up early, going hiking, and I'm just not like that. I am quite a lazy traveler. I like to take my time. I don't like to rush. If I don't see something, I'll come back. I'll do it another day. I don't have to see everything. I just want the experience to be nice, and if then I miss out on something, I don't mind. And he was much more like, oh, we're going to do everything. We have to rush. We have to go, get up, get there, do everything. And you're going to get annoyed at each other. So that is difficult. But even just right now, like me, I'm single. And then dating when traveling is also tough because you move around so much. Generally, the other person moves around a lot, or they're just on vacation and they're going to go home and then you don't see each other for weeks. And it's very hard to get to know someone from a distance. I know there's FaceTime and everything, but it's not the same. So that is tough. And then, yeah, family I don't see very often. Most of my family, I mean, they're used to it. I've been doing this for years. But I actually just a couple weeks ago got in a fight with my grandpa, which is sad. But yeah, he said, oh, we have a party this Saturday for their 60th, 50th, I don't know, wedding, or 30th, I don't know, numbers, also my memory is awful. Anyway, a wedding anniversary, which of course is a big deal, but when they told me about it a month in advance, I already told them, hey, sorry, I'm going to be traveling. Like, I won't be in the country, and I don't want to go back to the Netherlands for one event, especially not when it is not a really big event. They threw a really big party a couple of years ago. Of course, I made sure to be there. This was a smaller thing. It was just a dinner. And he got really angry with me. And I can see his side. I understand. But I also find it tough to explain to people that this is my life. Like, my life is not in the Netherlands. Because what he told me was, actually, he said, you could be here, you just don't want to. Again, he's got a point. But it's also then tough to explain, my life isn't in the Netherlands. My life is abroad. My life is while traveling. Then I'm living my life. Whenever I go back to the Netherlands, it feels a little bit like pausing on my life. Like, I now have to take a break from how I live my life to be in the Netherlands, to see all my friends and family, which I love, to then go back to my life. So I don't often go back to the Netherlands unless, I have, I usually go back in the summer for a couple of weeks. So I also then saw my grandparents, or there's a really big important event, like a really good friend of mine got married. Of course, I'm going to make sure that I'm there. But for smaller events, I generally don't do that. And that is not personal. That has nothing to do with them. It's just, I need to prioritize. I can't fly back for every single event, because then I'll never be abroad. And then I feel like I cannot live my life. But yeah, he's a bit older, different generation, different mindset. And I was like, yeah, but I'm in Greece. I was actually also there for a collaboration, which was really, really nice. I was like, I cannot just go back to the Netherlands for a weekend and then fly back. It's just, I mean, and again, technically it was like, yes, but you could. You travel. That's what you do. So you can easily go back and come back to the Netherlands. And I know technically he's not wrong. And some of you might probably agree with him and tell me that I'm being a bad granddaughter and I should have gone back to the Netherlands. And that's fair. That is fair. But yeah, those things will happen when you travel full time. People will get a bit upset that you didn't join certain things or that you didn't make time for them. And it's going to be hard to explain why, especially for people who have never done this lifestyle or have never seen it. And that's part of it. And that can happen with friendships, that can happen with family. Everything's fine now, by the way. It's all good. They had a great event. I called. It was all good. But those things happen and they're not fun. And of course, I've lost many friendships as well, just because for some people it is very important to have friends that live close by, that they get to see every week. And once you are further away, that relationship breaks. It just, disappears slowly. And that is okay too. I think people that want to be in your life, they'll stay in your life. Again, I've got really good friends back in the Netherlands. Do we talk often? Not at all. But anytime I am back, we see each other and it's great. And we all, catch up on everything. And then there's other friends that I do speak with every week, although we almost never see each other. So the important friendships will stay. And personally, I'd rather have my 5 really good friends than 30 kind of half friends that are friends just because of location. But that is something that is going to happen when you travel this much. Relationships will look different. You'll have less close ones, I would say. Actually, no, you'll probably just have less superficial ones. You'll have more close ones. The relationships I do have, and I mean friendships, they're really good. They're very close friendships. And I don't have many superficial ones because they just don't make it when you are not there and when you can't meet every week. And that is, again, fine too. None of this is personal for anyone who's listening who I might have met at some point or who I was close friends with for a while until I moved places. That is not personal. That's just what happens when there's distance, and that's completely fine. And I truly hope that all of those people I get to meet again, and then we just pick up where we left off. It's just, I also understand that for other people it is difficult to have me as a friend. Someone who is unreliable, who's never there, who travels a lot, who sometimes has a couple days, without an internet, who you can't just go and meet for a coffee. I know I'm not the ideal friend to have, but if you don't mind the distance and you're okay with that, then of course you can have really, really great friendships, which I do have. But they look different, I think. Okay, this is already turning out to be quite a long podcast. Sorry about that. I've got a couple more points that I want to talk about. The next one being work, your career, I think. Again, this depends on how you build it, but I work for myself. I'm a freelancer, and I have worked in an office 2 weeks of my life, and that was just before COVID hit. So then it all got shut down and I worked from home for that company. And after that, I immediately started working freelance. Like I launched my own company and just started working on that. But that does mean that I don't have a career in the traditional sense. There's not really any corporate ladder for me to climb in that sense. It's just me working from my laptop for different clients. And personally, I love that. But sometimes I do feel like, what am I building? What am I working towards? So then it is really good to have your own goals in that and to understand that I am working to support this lifestyle. And I think a lot of people are just working really hard for other people as well. To to just live in one place, which is, again, there's nothing bad about this. It's just a very different way of living. And working that hard and building your career, I think, is a really great thing and can be very rewarding, but it can also be very tiring. It can be very rough. I mean, the amount of people I've heard with a burnout or who've gotten very depressed or sad, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think it's a really, really hard thing to do and a hard way to live. And what I'm doing is a bit more risky, I would say. Of course, because I don't have contracts, or I've got contracts with clients, but I'm still a freelancer. The whole idea of a freelancer is that you can hire me and fire me if you choose to, and it's all very easy. And we're the first ones to go when something goes wrong in a company, or they're losing money, or they want to save money, or freelancers are the first to go. And it can be from one day to the next. Like I said, I've lost many clients over the years. In February, I lost all of them, which was rough. So that stability and consistency when it comes to work and income is something else that you need to be able to deal with, which, yes, can be very, very taxing. There have been many weeks, months, days where I've worried a lot about my income and my work. And I've always gotten it back. I've always been able to rebuild, to learn and grow. But it is another level of stress that you add to your life, which I think it's worth it because then you get to have this lifestyle. But you need to be able to deal with that and to be okay with that and to have that level of uncertainty and not build a career in the traditional sense. Of course, I've got my portfolio, I've got my growth, I've got everything I've learned, I've got my skills. But I can't just say, but I've worked at all these companies and this is what I've done. And it's just very different. So yeah, I think all of that together, anyone I think would know or understand that this lifestyle definitely is all about letting go a bit of that control. Generally what I do is a bit more about freedom, and freedom comes with not always being in control, with more insecurity, instability. And again, it doesn't have to be. There's also been months where I've been really great and my income was very secure and everything was very stable and I lived in one place. But there also will be moments where it is not. Like, life goes up and down, and that is no different in this lifestyle, if not worse. Anyone can get fired from a job, and that's a really hard thing, and then they have to rebuild that. And I feel like I do that every year, but 3 times. Which, yes, is stressful. But then I also get to work from great places like Italy. So because of that, I don't feel like I get to complain about it too much. I just have to deal with it. And that can be a tough thing to do. But it is worth it. So one last thing that I will say that I felt, especially this year. I don't know what it is this year, but this year has been tough. It's not been easy. I mean, I got broken up with at the beginning of, or halfway the year, when we were traveling Peru together. We broke up, so then I was stuck in Peru by myself. I lost all of my clients. I had to rebuild. I had to go through a lot of my savings to make it work. I've had to kind of pivot my business, offer something else. I've made lots of changes in this year, and it's not been easy. And that made me feel like maybe I was falling behind. And I think this is also because, like I said, you don't have the feeling that you're building the same career that many people do, which can be tough. I'm also not buying a house. I am still single. I am traveling a lot. I'm not building something, which I've talked about before, because it is not something that I mind. But these are the kind of doubts and like inner chats that I have occasionally, because then I do a bit too much comparing, or I feel a bit down about how things are going. Even with social media, like how fast I'm growing, what is happening, collaborations that I don't have or do have, clients that I work with, for my normal freelance work, which is brand design, by the way, in case you missed that. There is quite a bit of, or there can be a bit of feeling like you're falling behind, just because you see other people go more through this expected, or no, reach these expected life milestones, let's say. They graduate, they get their job, they get a relationship, then I buy a house, they get married. Soon, I also think some of my friends are going to have kids. They're reaching all of these milestones, and their life just seems to go very steadily kind of that direction. While I feel like my life has just been all of these ups and downs, and I've loved it. I do think in many ways I've lived almost more of a life than some people I know. Again, nothing bad towards them at all. And I know I would not have been happy living their life, and they would probably not be happy living my life. But it is hard not to compare sometimes and feel like, oh, my life is not just going up. Like I graduated, and then I started my business, and then I failed 3 times, and then I got into 3 different relationships that also all failed. I still don't have a house, nowhere close to being married. It's just a lot more messy. But then I've also experienced a lot and seen the world, and I'm really happy. And it's just a very different experience and a different way to build this life. But it's hard to compare, or not to compare sometimes. So keep those things in mind. I mean, I am very happy I get to do this, and I feel very privileged, and I'm very, also proud of myself that I built it this way, that I didn't go for, I think, what is kind of assumed, or what a lot of people do, and I kept going my own way. I'm very happy I did that. But that doesn't mean that there's not ever any doubt, that there's not ever any voice in my head going, oh, maybe I should settle down or do it different or follow more what other people are doing, or maybe if I lived some place I would be happier, it would be good, or I don't know. I think everyone has these doubts regardless of the lifestyle that you choose. So yeah, I think if you're thinking about digital nomad lifestyle, think about these points and also think about what it is that you are willing to give up. What are things that you can or cannot live without? How much uncertainty can you handle? What are things that are currently really important in your life? And it doesn't mean that any of those you have to give up, but more how can you incorporate them in this lifestyle? How do you want to build this lifestyle? Again, I know people that do have a job at a company but remote, or people that have a home base somewhere that they could go back to, so they do have that sense of home. There's so many ways to build this lifestyle. The way I'm doing it is maybe a slightly more free, risky version of it, but there are more stable ways you could do this. So it is good to figure out, what am I comfortable giving up and what not? What is important to me? What do I want to hold on to? What can I let go of? Maybe you want to be even freer, travel with less stuff, move around quicker, travel with someone, travel without, I don't know. Try and figure out what would work for you, and let me know what you think of, what you would love your life to look like. I'm quite curious. If you have any questions about any of this or any remarks, maybe if other digital nomads are listening and you think, oh, actually this is something else I've noticed, please let me know. Always happy to share more insights, and be good for me to reflect on some things as well. If you like the episode, please like, subscribe, share it with friends, with other people, whatever it is. It really, really helps me kind of grow and reach more people, which of course I would love to do. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and then I really hope to see you again next week. Thank you so much. Bye bye.